Hi everybody, today I'm going to be sharing surprising facts about your gut microbiome. So these are going to be things you don't hear super often that will help you to better understand how your gut microbiome works and how you can support it better to make sure that you have a healthy, diverse microbiome that will help support your overall health. So the very first one is that microbes don't actually die, they just lose their cell wall and morph into what's called L forms. So this is something that Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who is the founder of the GAPS diet, talks about a lot. So basically, microbes actually can't be killed as far as we know. So when we talk about killing microbes, what actually goes on is it destroys their cell wall. So things like antibiotics, antibacterial soaps, those cleaners that kill 99.9% of bacteria or microbes or germs, what they do is they actually destroy the cell wall, which changes how that microbe or bacteria can function. And for a long time, it was believed that when you destroyed the cell wall, you actually killed the microbe. But now we're finding that it actually just morphs it into what's called an L form. So these L forms or cell wall deficient bacteria are a lot more dangerous because they're kind of like a blob that can move easily, and they can just like wiggle their way into tissues that they couldn't before. Like they can actually get inside of your cells and nucleuses and cause damage there. So by understanding this, you can probably realize that antibiotics and antibacterial soaps and hand sanitizers and harsh cleaners that are morphing your bacteria into the dangerous L forms are not going to be good for you. So you're definitely going to want to avoid those and only use antibiotics if you really, really have to. Otherwise, avoid using them because they are not good for your microbiome. All right, the second fact is you inherit your microbiome from your parents. So when you are born and you pass through your mother's vagina, you will actually get her bacteria, and you will also get some of your father's bacteria because he influences the mother's vaginal microbiome. So you will get your microbiome from your parents. If you are born from a C-section, instead you will get more of the microbes that are around you, the first ones that you tend to interact with. But we're finding that it's so important, this getting the microbiome right away and getting a healthy microbiome, that there are new practices where C-section babies will have the mother's vaginal fluids like spread on them afterwards, or they will have other methods of ensuring that the babies actually get a healthy microbiome right off the bat, because they just find you're so much better off in life if you start with a healthy microbiome. Yeah, so then you will pass your microbiome down to your children as well. So you inherit your microbiome, you pass it down to your children. You can change it in your life. You can improve it or worsen it. So you definitely want to focus on improving it so that your kids will have better health than you did. But I just think it's very interesting that a big bulk of your microbiome and how it first is that will dictate a lot of your health actually happens right at birth. So this brings me to the third point, which is on average, our microbiomes have actually been getting worse and worse each generation. This is largely from things like antibiotics, hormonal birth control, different medicines like PPIs and antidepressants, toxins like glyphosate or Roundup, from EMFs, that's electromagnetic frequencies, from things like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and cell towers and 5G and that kind of stuff, heavy metals, fluoride and chlorine, which are very prominent in water, and just a poor diet in general. So these are all things that have drastically increased over the last few generations. And, you know, our grandparents or great grandparents might have had 1 or 2 rounds of antibiotics in their life, and that could slightly worsen the microbiome before passing it on to their children who might have had 3 rounds or 4 rounds. And now it's so common to have round after round after round of antibiotic in your life, and it just worsens it. So that is one of the biggest causes, but all of those other ones I mentioned too point to how a lot of people's microbiomes just keep getting worse and worse each generation, and this affects so much of your health. It can lead to bloating, it can lead to constipation, it can lead to diarrhea, it can lead to digestive issues, it can lead to toxins overflowing in your body, it can lead to leaky gut and autoimmune diseases. It leads to so many issues. So it's so important to fix this. On the flip side, I will say there are a lot of people that are getting so interested in gut health and overall health, and a lot of people that I talk to tell me that they're really excited to prep their body for pregnancy so that they can be really healthy and pass down the best possible microbiome and health and nutrients to their children. I work with a lot of people who are like this. So on the flip side, I think there are a lot of people that also care a lot about this and are making a lot of shifts to improve their microbiome, improve it for their children, and move in the right direction. So while in the mainstream, and I think a lot of people are having this worse each generation, I do think there's a large chunk of people that really care about their health and are making some great changes here, which I think is just really exciting. Okay, so another thing is going to be certain microbes overgrow to help your body deal with toxins. So if you have something like a yeast infection, or you have athlete's foot, or you have some kind of bacterial infection or overgrowth or fungus overgrowth or yeast overgrowth, it's probably because you have a toxin overload there, and certain microbes are more effective at dealing with certain toxins. So Candida is really good at dealing with things like heavy metals. So if you have excess heavy metals somewhere, you might end up having more Candida overgrow to deal with those toxins. The microbes can kind of like absorb the toxins and then bring them out in your stools and just neutralize them and really clean up your body. So it's important to note that if you are having some kind of infection, that it's probably that there are toxins, and the bacteria that's causing these symptoms and making you feel bad is actually doing something positive for your body. So you do really want to make sure you are working on root causes and really minimizing toxin exposure. That's going to be huge here, but just understanding that can be really helpful. Microbes are really healers and cleansers. If you get an infection, it means your body is polluted with chemicals that need to be cleaning out, and the microbes are the ones that can clean it out. So this brings me to my next point, which is there really are no good or bad microbes. Any microbe can cause issues when it is out of balance. So the whole good bacteria, pathogenic or bad bacteria thing, what we call the pathogenic or bad bacteria are really just microbes that have overgrown and are now causing this symptom, but at the same time they're fixing the root cause of the symptom. So it gets a little tricky. So basically, these microbes, Candida, for example, is not bad. You're always going to have some Candida in your body, but when it overgrows, it causes issues. So this is the same for other microbes. As soon as they start overgrowing, that's when they can cause these uncomfortable symptoms, but it's important to understand sometimes they overgrow to rid your body of a certain toxin. So reducing the toxin exposure, supporting good digestive health, eating healthy foods, supporting your microbiome with things like fermented foods, all of that will help this to pass sooner and bring your body back into balance. All right, the next one is an out of balance microbiome can actually lead to constipation or diarrhea, and I just think this is so fascinating. So certain microbes, when they overgrow and they're eating the fiber or any undigested food that comes along into the intestines, they will produce a lot of gas, and the gas can either lead fluid to go to your colon or draw fluid away from your colon. So if it's drawing more fluid to your colon, you're going to be more prone to diarrhea. If it's drawing more fluid away from your colon, you're going to be more prone to constipation. And if your microbes are switching frequently, that's where you can get that alternating constipation or diarrhea. Or I'll also see with some of my constipated clients, when they're healing and they're working on their microbiome, sometimes there's a little shift real quick where they get a little bit of diarrhea as their microbiome is shifting, because it shifts off and then it kind of corrects. So sometimes that can happen too. Oftentimes, if you've been having constipation and you get a little diarrhea, it can be a sign that you're getting closer to overcoming that. It's not always the case, but it certainly seems to happen a lot. So another thing is low stomach acid can also contribute to an overgrowth of pathogenic microbes. The acidity of our stomach, it's at a pH of around 1 to 3, is very effective at dealing with excess microbes we might come into contact with through our food that our body doesn't want and isn't going to help our body. So when it isn't acidic enough, and we have low stomach acid and the pH is too high, too close towards the basic side, then we're going to have more microbes kind of make it through our stomach and come into contact with our gut microbiome, and that can lead to more of them hanging around, and they might be ones that we don't want so much. So basically, the strong stomach acid can help to kind of deal with some of these microbes that we don't want and help make sure that they get out of our body instead of cultivating in our microbiome and affecting that overall balance. All right, the next thing is your diet is the most powerful healer. So if you are dealing with microbiome issues and you want to overcome them, start having bone broth or meat stock every single day, at least 2 cups of it, if not more. You also want to be having your ferments regular, so that can be kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented veggies, yogurt, kefir, anything like that. And then you want to be eating an animal-based, nose-to-tail, ancestral type diet. You can also do the GAPS diet if you want. It just kind of depends on where you're at, your specific symptoms, which one is going to be best for you. I use all of those with my clients. It just varies based on their own individual symptoms and experience and lifestyle and all these different factors. But essentially, you want to be eating a lot of nutrient-dense animal foods. You want to be eating a lot of animal fats. You don't want to be having things like refined sugar, refined carbs, alcohol, or artificial sweeteners, because these can feed certain microbes and cause them to overgrow, which causes that imbalance, which causes those other symptoms like the bloating and the gas and the uncomfortable things. So you really want to make sure you're not having those. And then you also want to filter your water, because water very commonly has chlorine and fluoride in it, and they have an antibiotic-like effect on these microbes, so they can actually morph some of your microbes into those dangerous L forms. So you really want to make sure you invest in a good water filter. I personally have the Berkey, that's what I like to use, but there are other good ones out there. There's reverse osmosis water. Sometimes you can get natural spring water. So there's other good options, but you do want to go beyond just a Brita filter. That's not going to do enough for you here. And then you really want to buy organic, because glyphosate is horrible for your microbiome, and it's very, very commonly used, and especially on grains, corn, wheat, soy. Those are like the most heavily sprayed, so always get those organic, but really you want to get as much organic as possible to avoid the negative effects of the pesticides on your gut microbiome. So there's so much more that could be said about diet, but that is the essence of it. Really focus on good nose to tail animal foods, lots of meat stock or bone broth, lots of fermented foods, fruits and veggies are fine, and just really avoid those grains, processed foods, sugars, alcohols, things like that. All right, so the last one is gut dysbiosis can contribute to leaky gut. So I talk about leaky gut a lot. I talk about the effects of gluten and lectins and toxins and things like that, and stress that can cause leaky gut. But your microbiome being off, having that gut dysbiosis, can also lead to leaky gut. So when your microbiome is off, you can't break down your food effectively and absorb those nutrients, the microbiome can actually transform some of these leftover foods into toxins, which can then damage your intestinal lining and lead to that leaky gut. So that is why your gut microbiome is so key for your health and can contribute to so many diseases, because when you get leaky gut, that can lead to autoimmune diseases and cancers and chronic illnesses and so many things. So your gut microbiome is so fundamental for your overall health, for your immunity, for your gut health, for everything. So that is the last one. And if you like this kind of info and you want to learn how to heal your gut by getting your digestive system to work like a reliable machine, I actually have a whole training video where I go over that. In the training, I talk about the 5 keys for a successful gut healing diet. I talk about the importance of a personalized, sustainable, and nourishing diet and how you can create this for yourself. I go over how to have full, relieving, healthy bowel movements effortlessly and daily. And then I also go over the biggest mistakes I see people make while healing their gut, so that you can avoid those and heal way quicker quicker. This video is something I wish I had when I was dealing with chronic gut issues. It really just gives you a roadmap of the most important things to focus on to heal your digestive system, heal your gut, get everything functioning normally. And when your body is functioning normally and healthy, you won't have those symptoms. So if you want to check that out, I will leave a link down below where you can access the training for free. It is an excellent place to start if you are serious about healing your gut and you want to know more of the how-to roadmap, exactly what to do to heal. So definitely check that out. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in holistic healing, ancestral nutrition, gut health, you can subscribe because I put tons of videos out about that, and I would love to have you as a subscriber. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, comment. I really appreciate all your comments. If you know someone who could benefit from it, consider sharing it with them. All of those help me out a ton, and I really appreciate it. And if you want to check out some more videos, I have a video all about gut dysbiosis and how to tell if you have it and how to cure it naturally and at the root. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave it on the screen now. Thank you for watching.